Hello, hello. Ron Callis here with another episode of Automation Unplugged. Today is Thursday, May 21st. It is just a few minutes after 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I hope you are all doing well. I am going to jump over here to Facebook just to make sure that, in fact, we are streaming. If you joined me yesterday, you know that things can get exciting around here. We tried some rather advanced handoff techniques between computer to phone to computer, and well, that didn't go so well. So if you want to see some fireworks, watch the show from yesterday. I had a lot of fun with my guest, Kevin Hancock. A really fun guy running a nice business. But yeah, some minor technical difficulties yesterday. But that is not going to happen to us today because I'm going to will that not to happen. Yeah, it does look like we are streaming into Facebook. Awesome. So if you're out there, give us a like, drop into the comments, let me know where you're coming to us from. And today I am excited to bring you this is a longtime friend and a customer of One Firefly, but just all around super interesting people. And that is for show 121 of Automation Unplugged, bringing you Jason Barth. He's one of the owners over at the Premier Group there in Indiana, and his director of business development, Jamie Carey. So let me go ahead and bring them on the screen here, and we'll see if we can. Hey guys.
Hey.
What's up?
What's up? I'm love. You told me you were going to have this fancy microphone. I'm loving that. So what sort of microphone tech do you have there, Jason?
This is from my home studio, my AKG C414 Gold.
It's gold on the other side of that, isn't it?
Gold. Yeah. Here, let's show everybody.
Oh, that's great. I was so proud of myself when I stepped into the Joe Rogan mic here from Shure, and then you had to bring some real hardware to the table.
Real stuff right here.
That's the real deal, Holyfield.
Gross overkill for this, but it's what I have.
Well, it's pretty darn cool. We already got some folks saying hi. We got Chris. Hey, Chris, how are you, sir? Thanks for stopping in. Chris is jumping in here from the UK. And by the way, Chris, are things starting to open up over there? What's the business climate like in the UK? Let us know. Drop that into the comments. Jason, for those that don't know, where are you guys coming to us from? Where is the Premier Group located?
Yeah, so we're currently sitting at our showroom, which is inside the Indiana Design Center on the north side of Indianapolis. We're in Carmel, Indiana.
Carmel, Indiana. And you said you're at the Design Center. So is this one of these facilities like where interior designers would go and there's furniture shops and fabrics and audio video companies?
Yes, it's about a 90,000 square foot building with trades. Kind of the anchor tenant is Ferguson. They're a Kohler dealer, high-end appliances, and then you've got kind of all the other trades.
Okay. Have you guys been located at that spot for a while? I've known integrators throughout the country that have kind of zeroed their businesses into being located in these kind of design hubs. Is this where you've always been, or is this just like a recent move?
Yeah, so we've been in business 21 years, and we kind of went it alone for the first 10 or 11, and then this whole community was created about 10 years ago. We were one of the first tenants, so we moved in here about 9 years ago. We just renewed our lease this last month and tore the whole showroom down to the studs, and we're rebuilding it during this.
We made this
time.
Part. We made this part.
I was gonna say, so Jamie, how much of what is in frame is the only thing that could actually be in frame right now?
It's the only thing, I swear.
Don't look at all the insulation piled up over there.
I wiped the dust off of our beautiful table, and we have 2 chairs to sit in, and we're making it, we're making it look
the
great.
world would never know. And it was funny because yesterday on my show, I had the gentleman, the owner of Frame My TV, and he recently partnered with Samsung, or he's collaborating with Samsung for the Frame TV. And if I'm not wrong, that's a Frame TV over your shoulder.
That is.
There we go.
There's
Very
two more
nice.
over here that you can't see.
There's two more of it.
And I have them all.
What, out of curiosity, are the frame TVs all the rage? Or, I mean, do you sell a plethora of TVs and that's just, you sprinkle in some frame TVs, or is there actually an increased demand for that type of device?
Yeah. I mean, I think when an interior designer, particularly in the center, sees the frame TV, they're like, well, nobody should have anything but that.
They only specify this.
But if you're in our industry, we do a lot of stuff, right? So our kind of go-to is Sony. We really like the Sony displays, good value, great quality. LG kills it with the OLED. Samsung kills it with the frame. So I think they're each good at
they all serve a purpose.
Right. They're what they each chose to specialize in, they really hit out of the park. So we love it. But then when you go beyond that, you can dress up any TV with, whether it's a Sura frame or a mirror or a Leon Media Decor, there's other choices, but the frame TV is clearly the commodity choice that actually looks fantastic.
I moved into the frame in the fall after putting my eyes on it closely at CEDIA last year, and I finally did it, and we love it. I made the comment yesterday. I don't know that I've ever would have said I love the TV, but like we really like it. My wife loves it, which is what's most important. And
I've got one on the side wall of my formal dining table.
There you go. Exactly.
It's like art. People don't even know it's a TV, but you can sit in the dining room and watch TV.
So, Jason, you're one of the owners and founders of the Premier Group, and I know you have a super interesting story, and I want to dig into that in just a moment. But I want to jump over to Jamie. Jamie, what is your role at the Premier Group? And then actually, if you don't, I always love to go into origin stories at the beginning of an interview. So if we could maybe start with you, what was your origin story and how did you land here? And then we'll jump back over to Jason and do the same.
Sure. I grew up in Indianapolis and got recruited to play softball at Miami of Ohio. So I didn't go far.
So you were a college athlete.
Yep. Did that. Also managed to graduate, believe it or not. Got a marketing degree. And I'm just going to quickly roll through this, but started my career at an ad agency and worked there for 3.5 years. And just decided that I didn't decide. I had always loved photography, but decided that it was something that I really wanted to dig into. Taught myself how to shoot manual. Started buying really great equipment, and it quickly became something that needed a lot of my attention because I was getting hired. Now, this is while I was, my 3.5 year stint at the ad agency. So just it quickly became something that was taking a lot of my time, and I needed to make a choice. Was I going to continue to try to do both, which was very time consuming? Was I going to focus on one or the other? And I was young. I decided to take a leap of faith and left that career and focused on photography full time. And, that was back in, 2007 when I left that job and started photography. Did that for 15 years and slowly tried to get out towards the end of that career. Even though I didn't know I was trying to transition, that's what happened. I got out of, I wanted to get out of the wedding photography, not because I didn't love it,
what type of photography were you doing?
It was
portraits? Was it architectural?
No, it was almost all portrait photography, meaning families, weddings, event photography. But that also meant shooting on the weekends. And I had, 2 young children, and I was missing a lot of their stuff. So towards the end of that photography career, tried to transition out of weddings simply to be with my family more on the weekends and not miss soccer games. And thought, maybe to offset that income, I would focus on another passion of mine, which was architecture, specifically modern architecture, and thought that would lead to some commercial opportunities that would be during the week to, again, still provide for my family, but free up my weekends. That was really how I got the introduction then to the Indiana Design Center. I was hired by the center itself to start marketing it, to start photographing some of the showrooms, but for the design center, as a subcontractor. And then that led to the introduction from the executive director here to Jason. And so, I've told him now, but at that point, I didn't know when I was invited in that I was sitting down for a job interview. I thought he was just going to hire me to start photographing some of Premier's projects because that had happened with other people in the center. They had met me just walking through here and said, "Hey, can you come photograph some of our projects?" Sure. I did not know I was sitting down for a job interview, and it wasn't just one interview. It was kind of over a couple, several months.
Did you know, Jason, that you wanted to add this kind of this capability or skill set to your team? Or was it initially you just met Jamie to photograph your projects and you said, wait a second, I think there's more to this?
Yeah, so I specifically did not meet her to photograph projects.
Right.
That wasn't really, I was looking for a director of business development.
By the way, Jason, I have to stop you because you're going to love this comment.
What?
And you're going to smile ear to ear.
I
want that mic. They sound great. Jason, I know. It's a great mic. It's much better than Ron's.
You're sitting on top of yours. We're kind of back. If I get way up here and talk with my DJ voice.
Yeah, it sounds even better. Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, so it actually, my motivation was not the photography, although that's a very important part of our business in the marketing is having photographs of all your work. That was like a bonus. And I've told this story a number of times. As we sat down to interview, the thing that struck me the most was that Jamie was the general contractor and built her own house. So she, you meet a lot of people and they might be good at marketing or social media or whatever, but to understand our business is very challenging, right? We're in a difficult industry. There's a lot to it. It's very complicated. And here Jamie comes along and she's got a Control 4 system in her house and she's using the technology every day. Yeah. She built the house. So she hired an architect and built a custom home from scratch, bought a lot, designed a very modern house. So it was ridiculous.
It was the perfect marriage of what I wouldn't have even known was a skill.
Every skill
I just knew it.
Everything she's done, from her education to her corporate bigger branding, to rebrand Premiere and bring the branding perspective right out of the gate, to the photography, to the business development
and house building,
right, and building your own house, right. And then we start going to events, and Jamie and I walk in, builder events, baggy events, these things, and it's better to have a partner in crime walking in than going in by myself. I'd walk in by myself, walk around these events, say hi to builders, have a drink. Jamie and I could walk in and work the room, and I just think it's a lot more effective. We're better as a team than either of us individually.
One very noticeable impact of you bringing Jamie onto the team is that you guys have been better publicizing your work, and you guys have now won back-to-back awards at CEPro. Share with our audience, because you guys have some serious hardware, and you guys, maybe you're shy, so I'll bring it up.
Yeah. So this year is not our last dance. Anybody that's been watching that, but we are going for the three-peat. We are going for the three-peat.
Okay.
So we won 2018 and 2019. We were fortunate to win Integrated Home of the Year at the CEPro Awards. It was Jamie's photography and the storytelling. Obviously, the project has to qualify. The projects that we submitted checked every box. I'm going
to attempt to get technology to behave here. So let's see if I can do this. Bear with me. There you guys are. I think I'm in the folder. This says CEPro winner premiere. So I wanted to share some
That's
of
2018.
Yeah.
This is the 2018 project.
Yeah. Yep.
So that project checked every box. I mean, we did all of the lighting design from scratch. We did all of the design work in every inch of the home. Amazing audio system throughout the house. There's a full swing golf simulator, motorized shades, heating and cooling control. Every aspect of the home is automated, but we were most proud of the lighting design. It's a really special lighting project. But it's a client that came in and said, Jason, we've never built a house. This was a couple that, had lived in the same house for 35 years and decided that they were going to build because the lot next to theirs came available and it's a better view of the lake.
So did you get that? They just moved next door.
That's amazing.
So there was a house that went in foreclosure, and they were coming back on their pontoon boat on the lake. Like, wow, that house has such a great view. And then they realized, they kind of looked at each other, and the next day they bought it, knocked it to the ground, hired an architect, found out that the architect that they hired had designed the original house that they just knocked down, which is a bizarre story.
They had to either, face that architect and be like, we're going to knock down your work.
We're going to knock down your work.
For you to
But
create-
you
Oh, we're
get
going to let you build design a new masterpiece.
Right.
So don't be angry
Right.
at us. Don't hate on us.
So one of the very, and they did this in every category in the house. When they first sat down with us, they said, listen, we don't know what we should have in this house, but here's what we're doing and going for. And so please, put in what should be in this caliber of home. And it's only a 6,000 square foot house. And I say only, that's a large home, but
That's our team there at CDA.
in our
by the
industry,
way.
that's kind of a small home.
Yeah.
And they were going for ultra high end finishes. I mean, every inch of this house, every little detail is custom. The walls are covered in exotic stone. They've got petrified trees that are sink basins. I mean, it's nuts.
That is spectacular. So I want to share some more of your projects. And in fact, I want to even dive into the deeper strategy around actually doing not only great work, because I know you guys have been doing great work for a long time, but the importance of showcasing that work to the world. And I'm going to venture to say that, Jason, you perhaps you and your team realized that you needed this would be a smart thing to do. And then it so happens that you found Jamie and there's a good dynamic and she's good at helping you do this. Where did that epiphany come that you went from doing good work to, hey, I actually should start telling the world about this because this might be a good business strategy?
Yeah. I mean, so by nature, my nature is very contradictory to that. I've always joked that if I could just do the work and nobody saw me.
And I know that. I know you're
just
very introverted
sneak in.
and you're quiet. And so that's something happened where you were wise enough to know to bring Jamie onto the team to spot talent and then let her shine. So like, where did that happen? Or how did that happen?
So it was really thinking about that. I wanted this for my team. I wanted Destin, who builds the racks, to show his best work, and Kenny and Matt and David and, and even, Karen sitting, in the desk office management, and Julia in customer service, who takes amazing care of our clients after the job. And I built this amazing team over 21 years and wanted them to get credit for it. Like, to really feel that they were getting it. I mean, so many of them don't get to see the finished product even, or don't, Michelle does all the purchasing. She doesn't make it out of the office and get to walk through these jobs. So when Jamie first started just photographing and posting internal, we have kind of an internal newsletter or Facebook, and she had started posting that alone made a big difference in how people internally felt about the work we were doing. But
there was really no script. I mean, I think there was an outline of all these things that you envisioned my role being. And then I think I took that and I made my own assessment of the company when I started and viewed marketing as not only external, but internal, because I think it was really, obvious to me that I needed to look at the company culture as well. And if I could help that in a way, it was going to make us better. And so what I mean by that is, like he said, Michelle does all the purchasing. She probably purchased, under Harrison Home, but had never could put a name with a face, if that makes sense. And by the face, I don't necessarily mean the client, I mean the project. So Karen, who answered every phone call from them, would speak about the Harrison or whoever, whatever the last name is, but never ever knew what that meant. And so when they started seeing the work, it gave them something to be proud of.
So it's really about pride.
Did the work on our team,
right?
We're proud of it.
I mean, Karen gets a check in the mail, and it's a big number and a progress invoice, and she looks at, well, that must be a really good project, but it's just a transaction to her,
right?
So how do we connect the whole company with the amazing work we do, and how is each person at the company really critical to our success? It's not just the sales guy on the front end or the technician, near the back end. It literally takes an army.
And I immediately recognized the challenge with company culture in our company specifically was that we're not all under the same roof. I'm here at the design center, but 23 other employees are operating out of another office just blocks away. And then we have half of that team that only reports there in the mornings, and then they're out in the field. So to even communicate, like, let's say a traditional company, I'm not talking in our industry, but where you're all in the office all day long and you see each other and you don't only catch up on personal, but you
have lunch together.
You either you have lunch together, or you just kind of hear, peripherally what's going on, and you just know. Well, we had that logistical challenge of not being under the same roof. So I guess I took, my marketing, those bullets that Jason had down. It's kind of like requirements or job roles or descriptions. And just then I tried to break it down after I did my own assessment of what we needed to do. And like I said, it started with branding, brand awareness, internal communication, company culture. And then that really just resonated, I think, and made it more of a splash, I think, externally.
She broke it all the way down to, like, you guys need new shirts and hats and jackets.
I was going to say, can you show the camera? I saw on your shoulder you had a CEDIA award winning. Look at that, 2018 winner. There's something to be said for sure to have credentials, have the company being recognized.
I forget
the
about
pride
this.
that instills in your people.
Yeah. And I forget about this, but I was standing with a client and he was asking about another project that we're doing. And I said, yeah, I was really happy that we got this other project. And he goes, yeah, well, it might've had something to do with that patch on the side of your jacket. And you're like, laughed about it, because that's why he's proud to have hired us, because of the patch on my jacket. He likes to brag to, his designer and architect that, he's got Premier working on his project. And I don't historically think like that. I'm not a keep up with the Joneses kind of person. But I think that in our industry, we really need to take pride in craftsmanship. I have two sayings around the office. And one is that I don't ever want to hear somebody say that's not my job. And the second is that I want to be the company that's known for doing the difficult work that most people don't want to do. Whether you call that craftsmanship or just taking on a challenge, custom spraying speaker grills to match the wall and doing it in-house, to like really difficult stuff that, but just the details.
Yeah. And I should say too, then it wasn't like it was a super tough job for me walking into this role and trying to market the company, because I wasn't trying to market us as something that we weren't. The work was already amazing. The projects were already there. The portfolio was huge. The people with in-depth, like years and years of experience, the best at what you do in each role in our company, they were already there. So all I had to do was just market that, create the culture, make sure that our image, the way we looked in people's homes, the way that we dressed, the way we presented ourselves, made sense for the high-end homes that we were working in. Everything had to work properly. And I just felt like that really made my job easy. All I had to do was just act upon that. That was it. I
was going to say,
we probably could have won awards before, but it's a cumbersome process of getting those submissions ready, getting them.
Jamie, how do you feel about the impact this photographing of projects and these award wins? How do you feel about the impact that's had on Premier Group?
I mean, well, I'm definitely proud of it, and but what makes me proud is that I see the pride on everyone else in the company's faces. I mean, we literally have certain teams of people that sit in an office all day long, and they're not client facing, and they're not in the homes. There are programmers, there are engineers. And so I don't think anyone necessarily wants the spotlight shined on them individually, but who wouldn't be proud to say, in all of North and South America, this was my focus for 2 years. Right. Some of these projects literally go for years. They're that large, or they're that in depth, or they're that custom. So, I mean, I take pride in it, but I guess what makes me, what's rewarding for me is to see that pride on everyone else's faces. And it's not like they're, we expect them to walk around with a swagger. It's just now they know that has legitimized their hard work overall.
They're even more proud to work at the Premier Group.
And they're conscious of it on a daily basis. We have a large project that we're finishing now that we believe we'll be able to submit for next year. and it's by far our best work yet. I have to give credit to these homeowners, right? I mean,
right.
they have to trust us and allow us to do what we do. They have to have a sizable budget to compete for these top awards. I mean, there's no question about that. But literally, my guys, when they wired this house, we wired this house about 2.5 years ago, and it's in finished stage now. When they pulled the wire, they pulled a different color for every single discipline, and they lined the wires up one by one in all the wiring trays as they come into the mechanical room, color coded and right down. And as we're terminating the racks right now, Kenny brings it down. I see him in the office a couple of weeks ago, and he goes, "We're going to win best dressed equipment rack for this one." I said, "Really?" So I stopped out at the job site a few days later just because I want to see how it's coming along. He's brought all the wires. You can literally see the wire come all the way across the mechanical room. You can spot each individual wire. And we're talking like 11 miles of wiring coming into this mechanical. And it comes in. You can see the wire come down into the equipment rack, and then it's braided. He braided the wires across the back of the equipment rails and then turned them into the equipment. I was like, "Kenny, seriously? Like, is this even serviceable?" And he said, "Oh yeah, it's totally serviceable." And then he showed me how serviceable it was, that it was actually better because the wires stay in place, and how he made the junctions.
I need to get back out there and photograph.
I was like,
I photographed that mechanical room.
I was gonna say, that's got to make you excited, Jamie, to capture that photograph.
Well, when I started, that house was already.
It was out of the ground.
It was out of the ground, but that was a good time to start because I wanted to make sure that project was documented well enough to where we can show how proud we are of the work we're doing behind the drywall that nobody ever sees. And especially on a project of that scale, 20-some thousand square feet or 16.
It's 16,000, but there's an enormous amount of outdoor decks and patios and hardscape and cabanas. There's the outdoor living space is probably equally as big as the house.
It's going to speak volumes to be able to see what's behind the drywall and then see the finished product for sure.
That sounds. I'm eager to see
rainbow
those.
In the
I'm eager to see those pictures. Jamie, what makes for a good architectural photo? So anyone listening that wants a tip or trick, I know you've had many years of acting as a professional in this capacity. But is there any advice you can give?
Still self-taught. So
she clearly has a natural talent for photography because her framing architecturally is really good. Interiors are super hard to shoot. I think I've tried myself, and I think I'm, good at things like that. And it's hard. It's very hard.
Gosh, I don't know. I always try to capture the real feeling inside the room, meaning I try to nail the exposure. I try to make sure that, any dark spots, I've got light on them, but really I just like it to be evenly focused. And I prefer daylight. I'm shooting, 100% of the time without artificial lighting because I want to capture that true feeling of what it feels like when you individually are standing in that room versus my portrayal of the room just through a one-dimensional photograph. And that's an example of a commercial project. Jared Bunch Consulting. That was it's
a huge video wall on the right that changed their entire lobby. It brings so much life. They cannot imagine the lobby of their office without that enormous video wall. It would just be so flat and quiet and stagnant.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up your website now. Jason, I want to jump topics just for a moment. COVID. Right. The topic that everyone's tired of hearing about, but we're going to live with it probably for quite a while longer. How has it affected business for the Premier Group?
Yeah. So to say that we're not affected would be an understatement. I mean, we're greatly affected, and yet we haven't felt the effect yet. That sounds weird to say. Let me put it. One of my service technicians, about week 3 or 4 of COVID, he looks at me and he goes, "I don't get it." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "We're just basically being inconvenienced. That's all we've experienced." Well, the reality is in our business, we're working on projects that we contracted last October, 9 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. That book of business is there, and we're still working on those projects. And it's a big book of business. So When COVID hit, I said, boy, okay, I went through 2008. I didn't wish that on anyone, and that was brutal. And I was a young business owner. Let's face it, that was 12 years ago. Um, and I made a lot of bad decisions, or I didn't make decisions, right? Doing nothing is also a bad decision. We just kind of rode it out. And it took me about 8 years to dig out of that hole. But we didn't get hit when the financial crisis hit in 2008. There's a lot of types of businesses that got hit immediately. We didn't feel the impact till 2011 when all the houses that were contracted finished. And then all the builders filed bankruptcy at the end. And then we got stuck for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they did it to all the vendors. I mean, everybody, that's when the construction industry got hit. There was a big lag. What I'm concerned about with COVID is the lag. In 21 years, we've always been wiring houses. We've wired, there's not a day goes by we're not wiring. We're at multiple houses, wiring houses. And wiring houses brings trim out work and finish work and all that down the road. When COVID hit, I think we went 5 weeks and we couldn't get in a house to wire it. Thankfully, Indiana labeled construction essential. I've done quite a few calls with our HTSA group with dealers from New York, and they're just shut down. I mean, it's brutal. And so in Indiana, we haven't had that experience. We've been able to continue to work. And probably the first 4 weeks, we did more security and network upgrades than we did in the 2 years prior to that in like a month. It was unbelievable. Phone was ringing off the hook. Those are $5,000, $7,000 jobs. Pretty hard to replace a $750,000 job with a bunch of network updates. So, we immediately took some very proactive actions, to preserve cash flow. Whether my employees understood it or not, the goal was to make sure that we all have a business and jobs to come back to as things progress. So, we're making a go of it. The irony is we said, well, if we're going to have some time, let's tear the showroom down to the studs. Let's rebuild the website. Let's start the delivery program. Let's revamp our service department. But we haven't slowed down. So we're trying to do all those things. And we kind of set a very aggressive 8-week time frame to accomplish all these things. We're in week 5 and we're a week or 2 behind because we're so busy. So we're incredibly fortunate. What I'm worried about is, what does this fall look like? Right. I mean, I know that we've got work probably through the end of August. We have some jobs that we've wired that will be finishing, in November or next year. But is it the steady incline that our business has had the last 2+ years since Jamie came on board? We were flat before Jamie, and when we hired Jamie, 16% increase, and year to date this year we were already up 7% over last year, and we're holding that. But I'm much more concerned about the future, and so because we know that and we can address that now, we're being very proactive about the kinds of things that we're doing and the kind of business that we're looking for to fill the gap, so to speak, if there is one.
What exactly does it mean that if you were not wiring houses for 5 weeks, what does that mean downstream? And you mentioned fall. Does that hit you in the fall, or is this going to hit you in 2021?
Yeah,
when does it hit, and when it hits,
project,
what does it look like?
From fall on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a 10-month build, it's going to hit us in the fall. If it's a year-and-a-half build and we don't the projects, a lot of our projects are 16, 18, 20-month projects. They're big homes.
Yeah.
And so, that's going to hit in 2021. We're going to say, hey, where's the steady flow of finish work? So we need to be more proactive now, to target remodel work, to target existing homes, outdoor systems. I mean, you name it. I mean,
yeah, there's plenty of other things we can go after that don't require the lengthy pre-wire work.
Right. So as people, I think, start pulling the trigger again on the big homes, and there's houses going up. I mean, I'm pleasantly shocked and surprised by the amount of work that's continuing to go on. It has slowed down in terms of one trade on a site at a time. We were doing a project and the electrician pulled off. He said, hey, we're not coming out to the job. We're going to close our business down for 2 weeks and self-quarantine. Well, that stopped a construction site for 2 weeks. That backed everybody. That backs all the other trades up. So, I mean, there's no question it's been incredibly challenging to navigate almost on a daily basis. But I do have the foresight of the things that I learned in 2008. And we have some time here to focus on what we can do differently and and what we can target. We're a big Crestron dealer, but we don't do a lot of commercial projects. But we brought in and revamped our own conference rooms with all the new Crestron Flex products for Zoom rooms and Microsoft Teams, and it's amazing. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic stuff. And so suddenly we've got 4 quotes out to clients that say, hey, we need to add Zoom rooms to our
it's
office.
Taking advantage of this pandemic and marketing things that I wasn't marketing before, but they're very relevant now, like those products that Jason's mentioning.
Okay. Speaking, this is pure tangent, but I just learned about it in the last maybe week and a half, and that is Crestron's new Home Time product. Are you guys familiar with that? That's the new camera in the living room. It's brand new. So, do you have opinions on that?
Yeah, I think it's phenomenal. So I it was probably 5 or 6 weeks ago. My wife and I are sitting in our family room. We've got a 10-foot, it's our family room is our media room, right? We've got a 85-inch and a beautiful built-in. We've got a big 10-foot by 12-foot couch.
By the way, you told me this story when we were doing your website stuff.
I did.
And I told this story to John Clancy.
Yes.
Before John could tell me what the news was.
Right.
And he was teasing me. Right. And I was like, well, here's an application. And he goes, I know. So go ahead, finish the story.
So I think this is amazing. I'm so thrilled that they were actually thinking about it before I was experiencing it, because I want to put this in all my clients' houses. We're sitting on the couch. We've got our dogs, and I FaceTime my best friend who's in Dana Point in California, right? So she's with her little twins and her husband, and they're quarantined on a beach in a beautiful area south of Laguna.
I was say Dania Beach. That's,
that's
not a bad area
not
to be stuck.
I like to go visit Sonance factory because I get to visit my friend Nikki. So we're FaceTiming, and she's holding her phone, and she's like walking around the house, and she comes back and she sits in her family room. And I know her room. She's got a big, beautiful family room and a TV over the fireplace, and the kids are there. And she's on the phone. She's like, hey, Georgie, say hi to Jason and Melissa, and hey, Jordan, and showing us the dogs and all. And I'm thinking to myself, if I had a Crestron Flex system in my family room, right? I had the camera and the integrated audio system with my touch screen in my Zoom room, and she had that with the 120 degree or 150 degree field of view with the intelligent cameras and the high-end audio built for a 20-foot square room. The audio experience would be better. There wouldn't be this echoing in the room, and we could just sit back on our couch. We're not holding a device. I'm just sitting back on my couch, chilling out with the dogs, looking at Nikki and her family in their living room with their dogs and their kids, and just having an interaction. I'm thinking this would be amazing. Why are we not all doing this? Like, we got to do this.
This seems realistic that this is in our future now.
100%. Like, I want to put it in everybody's house now. I think people would just love it.
Right.
I think to sit in your family and have a room, not a desk and a workspace with a huddle cam or an iPad, but to actually just incorporate that technology into your primary family room where you already have a display and a seating area that faces the display. Why not talk room to room instead of device to device?
Yeah, there's plenty of good that can come out of this. And definitely from a marketing standpoint, those types of things, people's home networks, kids Zoom calls while the parents are trying to conference call, while the TVs are streaming music or television content. There's plenty that we took note on immediately and recognized what we could market or, bring up in our meetings or our home in-home consultations. So,
and Jamie, are you seeing a difference in demand for the technologies from the home, from the consumer? I mean, really in the last 8 weeks due to this pandemic, this quarantine?
Well, that's really a Jason question.
Yeah.
Is the marketing working?
Yeah. So, I mean, Indiana's just opening up. So we have key people that are still working from home, and Jamie's one of them, right? The showroom's not open. We have been taking private appointments, but when we tore it down, I mean, nobody's been in here in 5 weeks.
Got it.
I took a couple of meetings here in the conference room here over the last number of weeks, and we were the only people in the entire building, right? So Jamie's been working from home, Karen and Michelle and Julia, customer service and all that was work. But from the text, I joke with clients, like, we're not a work from home business. We're a work in your home business. So we need to be able to work in your home or we're not generating any revenue.
That makes sense. I was just curious, like that solution you're saying clearly makes we can visualize this in the future that a room to room conversation and embedding the audio and the or the microphone technology and the audio technology with the video technology. Like I can see that future. I'm wondering if customers have started demanding that or other types of solutions.
So what we're noticing for sure is that once you demonstrate, just like everything else in our business, when you demonstrate a quality audio experience for this, for video conferencing, et cetera, they can't unexperience that. And now they have to have it. And they realize the next session they're on, they're like, oh my gosh, the room it's distorted and I hear the room and there's so much reverb and it echoes and I can't hear them. I was on a call with a client yesterday and he was working from his home office. And I just said, Matt, I got to stop for a second. I don't mean to be rude, but what kind of system do you have? And he's a big, high-powered attorney, a really amazing guy, extremely valuable to his clients. And all I'm thinking is, if this is the system he's talking to his clients on, this is terrible. Like, we got to do something about this. He was distorted. I couldn't understand him. I had to turn the sound on my end up really loud and just sit and listen very quietly and just to try to understand him. And he was like, yeah, I bought this thing and it's terrible. And, and he realized it. And now he's bent on, he needs to get a better solution fast.
Yeah. We're just trying to figure out what to show customers that they need that they didn't know they needed. Right.
And we were on a conference call about motorized shades because they're working from home and the sun comes glaring in and they've never been home during the day before. And now we need to put shades in the study and the great room because the sun beats in.
Can we talk about your showroom remodel? What you tore it apart? You just showed me insulation over there to your right. What are you guys going to do with the showroom? What's the plan?
So the showroom was 9 years old. It needed what I call a refresh. So you think like, at some point we'll just clean the flooring and put, paint some walls or something. And it just evolved into our lease deal was up. I'm going to go ahead and they're probably not watching right now, but I'm going to thank our landlord. Our lease was actually up December 31st, and I was too busy to renegotiate our lease. I just figured, well, they're not going to turn down a check. I'll just keep sending them the rent check. And then COVID hit, and I said, we should probably renegotiate the lease. They said, no, let's wait till this thing's over. Just keep sending your check in. I said, no, we should probably renegotiate the lease right now. And as a result, we got a very favorable renewal deal. They paid for 100% of the construction, which you don't usually get on a refresh. We got some months of free rent while we're doing the construction. We got a no rent increase for the next 4 years. They were phenomenal.
This is the time to renegotiate your rent deals.
Yeah, and buy a car and do anything else if you're in a position. So obviously this, we doubled down. I mean, I said, let's do this, and the stars aligned, and so we ended up tearing it down to the studs. The goal was to take the space and really update the lighting. Mm-hmm. We refresh audio and video displays and all that. And we put in this last handful of months ago, the new short throw projector from LG with the Screen Innovation short throw screen and some displays that are really, wow factors for clients' new stuff. But the whole showroom is going to be a light lab. We're going to have all of our 7 primary lighting fixture manufacturers prominently displayed with just unbelievable fixtures. We've got a fixture from CEPro that's smaller than my pinky that puts out 1,000 lumens out of a tiny pinhole in your ceiling.
Is this like for a downlight application, or is this like for art spot?
No, it's like a 20, 40, or 60 degree downlight that comes out of a pinhole on the ceiling. Tech Light is a big manufacturer of ours. Diode LED, Cove Light, RGBW, tunable light, all the high-end adjustable lights, museum quality light, decorative light, the whole showroom, like all of it's redone. And we're basically showing every application. Like we built a new bar. It's going to be this amazing matte black bar. And we've got, the under cabinet light. We've got a pendant hanging. We've got toe kick. We've got these little CEPro lights shining down through the cabinetry. I mean, it's stunning. I mean, these are vignettes that I think are really going to resonate with customers in terms of what great lighting is.
Going to be very applicable. The goal was to take the existing showroom that was a little more AV focused into something that felt like a home, into showing individual vignettes that showcases a lot of things in one vignette. It's not like we're focusing this vignette on AV and this vignette on lighting and this vignette on
It's a lifestyle.
on and on.
We're
It
showing the
really
lifestyle.
is. It really is taking that integration idea to a level that I don't think we really had, other than our actual verbal sales pitch of
Right.
in demonstration when we walked clients through. I don't think that somebody walking through on their own really could grasp the whole home integration aspect of our business. I think that they could pick and choose what they saw, and obviously we would never let anyone walk through here without being talked to, but we would want them to take away that that holistic view of what we do versus just being an AV company.
How has lighting control, I'm going to say that's been part of your lexicon, part of your business model for a long time. But I'm going to say lighting now means control and fixtures.
Yeah.
And so that lighting and shading piece of your business, how has that evolved over the last 10 years? Like what do you see it being today versus what was it 5 years ago or 10 years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. So about 12 or 13 years ago, I had the vision that we would become the electrical contractor. And yet we have great partnerships with all the electrical contractors in town, and I don't want to step on their toes. But the reality is we're in a unique position that, because I do lighting design in-house and have been passionate about lighting design for almost my entire career at Premier. So we design, we specify all the fixtures, we layer the automation, and we're capable of turnkeying the entire project and then integrating with everything else in the house. There's really no other trade or individual that can do that, right? An interior designer certainly has input on a lighting plan and is bringing decorative product to the table, but they need us. They need us to wire it. They need us to automate it, to layer in the other layers of lighting, the cove lights and accent lights and down lights and all that. The architect might do a lighting plan, but he's not turnkeying the project, right? So we frequently see some dots and we'll be like, well, what is this fixture? Well, nobody knows yet. What it's a dot on the plan, but what's the color rendering index? What's the color temperature? What's the beam spread? What's the output? What's the height of the ceiling? What are we trying to cover? What is it lighting? Is it a wall washer and adjustable? Like nobody knows. And I've been impressed in the last few years that I think customers have really resonated with great lighting. And I give everybody the same story. And that is, you build this house, you got $1.5 million decisions to make, and you're going to be 20% over budget before you break ground, and you're trying to figure out what to cut, right? Everybody's in the same boat, right? Champagne taste, beer budget. And I still say, if you paint a room wrong, repaint it. If you don't like your island countertop, it's going to cost some money, but you can rip it off and you can put a new island on. If you don't like a decorative fixture, you buy a new decorative fixture and hang a new decorative fixture. But you don't get to redo your recessed lighting, your lighting plan, your electrical plan. It's all behind the drywall. It's all wired very purposefully. And so you really get one shot to get that right. And that's the lighting you're going to live with for the rest of your life in that house. And it's really, really important. And it was frustrating that we would see builders put in $60,000 appliance packages for the kitchen and $3,000 for some cheap 6-inch can lights. It's just out of whack. You don't build a $1.5 million house or a $3 million house or a $600,000 house. It's all relative, and spend that percentage on appliances and plumbing fixtures and not pay attention to the lighting. And so I think we've really brought lighting to the foreground, as our whole industry is attempting to do. But I think we've really been on the I like to think we've been on the cutting edge of that, because we were doing, 13 years ago, we wired a series of houses, a very special project we did in Enclave, all fully automated with Crestron lighting control, all with like the very first Cree LR4 fixtures that came out. And we never let up. I mean, it's about
what percentage of your business in 2020 do you think will be lighting and shading?
Yeah, it should be
versus, maybe at other times.
Yeah, it should be about 40%. All of our, about 85% of our business is our top clients, right? The other 15% is like all the other service work and all the small, a top client might call and say, hey, I need a new TV in my exercise room, and it's $5,000, and you just go do it. But like the projects, a pretty typical setup is about 40% audio video, about 40% lighting and shades and fixtures and lighting automation, like the whole category. The last 20% is probably some combination of home security, camera surveillance, networking, equipment rack, surge protection, all the ancillary things. They're super important, but they're just not as big of a ticket. People like to spend money on their audio experience or their video displays or their home theater or their family room. And now lighting and shades. So the ability to showcase that in every possible way that you could embrace lighting in our showroom with these, basically our entire showroom is going to be a lighting lab. It's going to be amazing.
No, it sounds amazing. And Kenny is on your team. I know Kenny because I used to work with Kenny at Crestron. What's up, Kenny? He says, I need to visit. And everyone out there that's watching and listening, you need to ring up Jamie and Jason, and you guys need to go visit.
Or Kenny.
Or Ken.
Or Ken. All right, Ken, you're going to eat that. So, all right, Paul.
He's chatting in here, but Ken is my right hand. Ken knows and does everything at Premiere. He's amazing. Works his tail. Hardest working guy in show business.
Kenny's a rock star. Love me some Kenny. That is awesome. So, question, and Jason, I think this might embarrass you a little bit, and I know that you don't like to maybe talk about this, but do you mind sharing with kind of what your background is? And you're like a bit of a rock star, or maybe not a bit of you kind of are a rock star. And you were in rock and roll.
They call you has-beens now. I don't like that phrase, but no.
Can you share? Because I even have, I gotta find it again. I even have something queued up. But why don't you share with the audience here kind of what your musical background is? Because you used to tour with some. I mean, you guys were a big name, but you also used to tour with some pretty big names.
Yeah, we toured. So. I went to DePauw University in Greencastle, Indiana. I'm originally from the north side of Chicago and went to DePauw. So that's how I came to Indiana. Met my best friends freshman year in the dorm, like first day, right? You meet some people and a couple of guys that we really bonded and over music and other things. And one of those was Tay. And Tay works with me here at Premiere, and Matt. Matt runs our operations side of the business.
That's pretty awesome that you met dudes in college.
First
you
day.
went in
19
how many years did you do the rock and so your rock and roll group was called Push Down and Turn.
Yeah. God knows how we graduated, but we did. By our senior year, our tour bus would pull up outside the campus quad and we would walk out of class and onto the bus. And we were gone for 3 days for the weekend.
So that was
and
like
then
on a
it would drop
Thursday
us
it would
off,
show up,
we none of us scheduled, so we had no Friday classes. So when we first started playing, we were doing the college and club circuit, and then drop us back off sometimes Monday morning, sometimes Sunday night, or Monday morning and walk right back into class. Our lead singer was 2 years behind us. I have no idea how he graduated. We were touring. We were doing, I think his senior year, we did 120 shows or something ridiculous. And then after that, once he graduated, we played over 200 shows a year for 10 years. So we toured for about 12 years.
That's crazy. You lived on the road. You were the road, the road touring rock and roll band.
Yep. 91 to 2002, 90 to 2002, roughly.
That's amazing. Who are some of the bands that people might recognize that you toured with?
Yeah, we toured with, we did shows with the Counting Crows, Toad the Wet Sprocket, Bodines, Melissa Etheridge, Primus, Neil Young, Blues Traveler. I mean, we were kind of in that mainstream rock vein back then.
You named a couple of groups that I saw in the 90s perform, and then I know there were always opening bands. I'm wondering if I watched you from the crowd.
So Counting Crows are my favorite rock band of all time.
I've seen Counting Crows a couple of times live.
Modern day
in the 90s.
Modern day it would be Foo Fighters, but Motley Crue in the 80s, Counting Crows in the 90s, Foo Fighters today. Those are kind of like my three. If we're gonna go rock, whole nother story. But now I'm into all electronic music. That's a whole nother thing. But we were playing with the Counting Crows, and they didn't know we were from Indianapolis. And so our hometown college crowds are IU and Purdue, and we come through and we're playing Elliott Hall on the tour. It's 7,500 seat theater, and we're open. We come out with what we would call our hit at the time, Jaded. And it starts with this guitar part, and the curtain goes up, and 7,500 Purdue kids get on their feet and start screaming, just going crazy. Because it was like our hometown. And here we were coming through opening for Counting Crows. So they were excited for us, I think. And the Counting Crows come running out of the dressing room onto the side stage, and they're like, what the blank?
Who are these people?
Right. They're like, they've been on tour, and they said that was their best show of the entire tour because they came out all kinds of fired up. They weren't going to let us upstage them in our hometown. So, all
right, I'm going to attempt to play this. It's going to switch audio. Let's see if I can do this. I'm going to turn up the audio a little bit.
Just like we used to. We'd like to leave.
This is the reunion show.
Yeah, so we did
2 years ago.
We didn't play a show for 13 years. We hung up the tour, and people started getting married and having kids, and all that boring stuff.
All right, is the audio coming through, Jason? Can you hear it?
Yeah.
I can hear it.
All right, I'm going to play it just for a few minutes. There you are.
So that's me.
The one and only.
So this was our reunion show. After 13 years of not touring, we played the Vogue in Indianapolis, which is where we got our start. It's about 1,000-seat capacity club. Really fantastic. And this was the encore at the end of the show. We used to play Purple Rain by Prince back in the day. This was several days after Prince passed away, which we didn't plan, obviously. So we closed with this.
That's and here at I know you have the audience will have to. There you go. You got the Purple Rain. You got it raining in the where was the venue where you performed?
The Vogue, and it's in Broad Ripple in Indianapolis.
All right, so
That was a great night.
I'm gonna put here on the screen for those that want to know how to watch that video. LDRstudios.com.
My buddy Clark owns LDR Studios. They came out and filmed the whole thing in high def. We had like 13 cameras in the venue. And, again, we hadn't played in 13 years. We thought we just got this idea we should probably do a reunion show. Remember, when we were touring, the iPhone didn't come out until 2007, right? 5 years after we finished touring. There was no social media. There weren't MP3s. We were listening to cassette tapes, right, from the studio. So it was interesting. We posted on Facebook, hey, we think we're going to do a reunion, and we put a date out there, and we put tickets online, and the thing sold out in a couple days. And people came in from 37 states all over the country for this show.
Did you have any second thoughts? Like maybe we should get back into this?
Oh, hell yeah. We all got excited for a moment.
For a moment. Did it die like the next day with the hangover?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's no question we all miss it. When we got back together for the first rehearsal, we started playing the set list, and it was like we had played the day before and the day before. I mean, we've played thousands of shows together. I mean, literally, it was like we hadn't missed a beat. It was pretty cool.
No,
so I'd like to say that was my transition. Is I've always had a passion and love for entertainment, and that's where our industry largely started. I mean, think 21 years ago when I founded Premiere, right? Our industry grew out of largely audio enthusiasts, and then we became video enthusiasts because Sam Runco preached it to us, right? And then we became then CEDIA said you need to own the network, and everybody started doing security, and then now they're saying we got to do lighting. I think we've been about 10 years ahead of the curve on all of that stuff. We've been doing it all for a long, long time. I think that's why my core team is so good. It's kind of like a band or a basketball team or football team. We all kind of read each other's minds. We know what we're thinking. We don't have to over communicate too much on what the expectations are on putting a system together. Even my programmers, I mean, I spent a long time coaching them to not program like a programmer, but to think like an end user. And they just knock it out of the park.
Jason, Jamie, it has been a lot of fun having you on show. What is this? This is show 121. 121. Lucky number 121 of Automation Unplugged. What was it scary? Was it scary, Jamie? Was it okay?
I mean, the scariest part was, thinking about how I had to wear normal clothes today.
Yeah,
and,
she's not wearing sweatpants.
ready.
She's actually dressed up.
I'm dressed to go to work. That was the scariest part.
You were saying your kids actually were surprised this morning because they're like, "Mom, you're dressed. What's going
I'm
on?"
dressed for prom or something. I mean, really, I'm just like in a denim jacket and not yoga pants. So
Mom has real pants on.
Like, what's going on?
That's what my wife says. She's like, I haven't worn pants in 2 months.
That's funny. Well, Jason and Jamie, thank you guys for being on the show.
Thank
you, Ron.
Awesome. And by the way, Jason, real quick, folks want to get in touch with Premier and/or you guys. What is the best way for folks to do that?
So here's the deal. You're going to go to our website, and I'm going to give Ron a shameless plug here. The only thing I'm equally or more excited about than our new showroom is our new website that we're building right now. I truly think we're going to have one of the best websites, if not the best website in the industry. Phenomenal. Jamie's photography, the storytelling, Ron, your team's capabilities are just absolutely fantastic. You're helping with our brand. We're branding we've kind of created 3 tiers, not to go on about this, but Premier Design is our high-end tier. We created a brand called Premier Express, which is kind of ready to go, quickly deployable solutions, repeatable solutions. And then Premier Care is our service team. So your team has helped us kind of brand those processes within the Premier group. Which we're loving, and the fact that it's all going to be represented on our new site with a lot of interactive, technology that you can experience. I think, we talk about this a lot in our industry. You say first impression is everything, but your first impression always used to old school was in person. You'd meet someone, you'd shake their hand, and how you shook their hand and looked them in the eye and repeated their name was your first impression. And now it's not you anymore. It's your social media,
whatever's
and
on
your
the
website.
internet.
So we have to really, that's a note to all of us in the industry. We really have to be sensitive to what our first impression is that we're giving, so that people call. Right. And I only have one negative down story about that. I lost a job last year because the client said our first impression was too good. He said, your showroom's too nice. Wait till he sees the new showroom. Right. Your website's too nice. You clearly must be too expensive. And I was like, well, that's your fault if you pick really nice stuff. I'm just showing it to you. I don't make the stuff.
Yeah, I don't make you spend the money. I just show you what your options are.
Right. We're just showing off. But that's what we do. We curate all this. So this is like our curation. Our showroom is the culmination of curating all the products in the ways that we do things that I really think make a difference. And our website needs to also show that curated story, because we think that we're getting it right. And so, of course, we want to tell that story. We think it's going to resonate and be attractive to our customers. So our website is the place.
Well, your website is going to be beautiful. And the reason I know that is because you guys are going to be supplying us amazing imagery and video that's going to be featured on that website. So you're doing much more than half the work by giving us great content. It's easy for us to make that content look great.
It's a great collaboration. And so thank you guys.
I agree. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, gang, there you have it. Episode 121 of Automation Unplugged. I hope you enjoyed it. Jason and Jamie, they are quite the dynamic duo over there at Premier Group, and they have a great team. I've had the pleasure of meeting multiple members of their team over the years, and I also love that they now have this really neat, insatiable hunger to win more awards, to put their story out there, share it with the world, and they're proud of their work, as they should be. And for many of you listening that aren't photographing your jobs or aren't doing video or aren't doing awards, there's an opportunity there to up your game and to start doing some of that. And I also loved the spin. It wasn't really spin, but it was a perspective that awards aren't just for the outside world. They aren't really so much in the Premier Group's mind for the consumer and creating demand, but it's what they've done for their internal company culture, and showing off the quality of work they do and enabling their team to be more proud of that work. So I thought that was super neat. So gang, that is it for episode 121. Thanks again for joining me, and I will see you again next week for a couple more shows. Be well, and if I don't talk to you, I'll see you next week and have a wonderful weekend. Be well, gang.